This Land Rover Series 2A hasn't been started for 30 years. And I still bought it. And now I have to fix problems like this, problems like this, like that, and like this, and like this, and like that, and like this, like this, like this, and like this. It turns out if you leave a car for 30 years, it doesn't age well. And now we need to figure out if we actually can fix all the problems on this car. And is it possible to get the engine running before the summer comes? In the previous videos, we got the engine spinning freely, we got power from the battery to the starter motor, and we managed to do a proper compression test. There are still two major problems that we need to fix. Two major, critical, important, do I have more words for this? Two important factors for any running engine, and that is fuel and spark. Today though, we will be looking at the fuel system, see if we can get fuel flowing from the tank, through the pipes, through the pump, all the way up to the carburetor. And if we can do that, we can start on the next major thing that we have here, and that is the Zenith carburetor. Wow. It is dirty, it's seized up, and I don't know what to expect when we start opening this up. My plan is to go systematically through it all, start with the tank, then work our way all the way to the carburetor, and finally do the carburetor if we get to that point. On a regular wheelbase, the 88, you can find the fuel tank underneath the seat. The filler cap is here, and then it runs into the fuel tank which is underneath. If we remove the seat, there's a panel here, and I think if we remove that, we can get to the fuel sender, and that way we can inspect the tank. Had to remove the seat to get access to the bolt in the rear, and here you can see the feed pipe and the airing pipe for the fuel tank. Before I lift it up, I'm just going to clean up a bit. So this has been thoroughly covered in anti-rust, or what's it called, underbody protection. So it's really sticky. And I think you have the first problem. Okay, so a little nice surprise this here. You can see there a little nash brush. Say hello to my little hole. Yeah. New tank, put that on the parts list. Okay, so that made for a really short segment, hole in the tank. So yeah, I need a new tank. So I think we can just leave it, but it would be interesting just to open it up and see. I think you can just take out the sender and just peek through the hole. I'm just going to leave it so it don't get all the fumes out in the garage. Then when we get the new tank, we can inspect it. But for now, we can continue, get out the fuel pickup line, not the fuel sender, if I said that, the fuel pickup line, and then we can take some petrol in our flask and then see if we can get fuel through the pump. Then we know the pump is working. So another part on the list, but it's to be expected. But yeah, with the tank out of the way, we can continue and look at the fuel pump, and the fuel pump sits down here. Okay, so on all of the 2¼ petrol engines. There's a mechanical pump. The pump works off the camshaft. The pump has a lever that sticks inside the block, and on one of the lobes on the camshaft it moves up and down, which creates the pumping action. And there's a diaphragm inside of the pump that moves up and down, creating the pressure difference. And also there's a one-way valve so the fuel doesn't run back. If you don't know what the diaphragm is, it's basically what you have here when you breathe. Same principle, except that the difference is air, and that's fuel, and it has a one-way valve, so the fuel keeps on flowing in one direction. So yeah. Okay, let's get a bottle, and then we can see if we can get fuel through the pump. One key feature, so as I said, there's a lever going inside the block, which goes on the camshaft, on the lobe. But the good thing about this pump, it's also got the lever outside. You can see it hanging underneath there. And with that, you can do manual pumping as long as the inner lever inside the block doesn't sit on top of the lobe. So if you cannot move the lever, let's see if we can do that. I can move it. If you can't use the manual pump, you need to turn the engine a bit so the lever inside the block is off cam. So if you can't use it, just turn the engine with the manual swing, and then it should be able to pump it. Pump it up. For the most part, the pump is usually a good unit that doesn't fail, but if it doesn't get used, the seals and the diaphragm can perish, and you won't have any pumping action. If it doesn't work now, I definitely need to order that. And yeah, but we will see. Does the pump work? So just taking the feed pipe out so we can see. Oh, oi. Oi. Really, okay. Really bad. Okay, yeah, put it back on. So the yeah, feed pipe. So there's a bit of fuel in there, so yeah, I'm just going to close this nicely off. Okay, so my plan was just to use the feed pipe into a can of petrol and then try and pump it up with the pump, but my hopes are really slim now for the pump to work, but we will see. So I was thinking I could just take off the old pipe going to the tank and just use a small one, but it's so difficult to take it off, so I think I'm just gonna remove everything, remove the pump with the piping on, remove the piping from the tank, and then we can take it out, and then I can clean the pump and we can test it with those original pipes. But definitely need to get new pipes. I can see alongside the chassis that there's been some chasing on the fuel line from the tank to the pump, so it definitely needs replacing. If you have a good suggestion to if I should change to like braided, or do I use like these original ones, yeah, let me know in a comment. I'm not really sure what the best thing here is to do, but yeah. Removing the pump, and then we can inspect it and see how bad it is. Yeah. The pump is coming out with the studs, so yeah. Okay, come on. And here you can see what I'm talking about. The inner lever sitting on getting pushed on by the cam, and then you see the manual lever here that you can prime the system or pump. Okay, one fuel pump. Ooh, nasty. One fuel pump. Oh, that's nasty. One fuel line. Okay. Other fuel line. Plug the hole. Plugging the hole. Then I need to get the fuel line from this mess. Let's see. Fuel line number 2. So, fuel pump, fuel lines, all out. And I was removing the seal from the pump. The inside of the seal was 2 small pieces of metal, so I don't know if it should, I can show you. It was on the inside of the seal, not really sure. If I were to guess, piece of piston. Not good. We will see when we get the sump out, maybe we can see something. 2 nice metal pieces. Always a good thing when you find metal pieces in the oil, so yeah. So it's sitting next to, into the block there, so yeah. Maybe it wasn't so smart spinning the engine after all. It stopped turning over. But yeah, no turning back now. I'm at the point where I'm not really sure what to do. I could clean and test the fuel pump, that I can do. And then I can clean the carburetor and then set that into factory blah blah blah, factory spec. And yeah. The pieces got me a bit concerned about what's happening inside of the engine. Okay, so back in the garage in the evening, and earlier you saw that we took out the fuel pump and the fuel lines, and I came back after dinner and getting the kids to practice, and the smell in here is just, yeah, it's horrible. And I think it's coming from the tank. So I just decided to go back in the evening and remove the tank and drain it so we can get it out of here so I can work. So I used the hose to get out most of it. There's 3 more cans outside. And now I'm trying to drain, already been a bit unlucky as you see, but yeah, trying to drain everything so I can get the tank out tonight so we can air out the garage because it smells like crazy in here. Jeg bare går ut I kveld, får ut tanken og blir ferdig med det, sånn at jeg får lufta ut av garasjen og alt. Ja. 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 So Eric called. Always good to hear from Eric, talking a bit and getting a little update on how it's going in my garage and how it's going with him down south. So I'm plugging the small hole and then I'm gonna drain this tank through the big hole into the bucket. I don't have a can that has a big enough hole for this, I think. So I think this is going to be the best way to do it. We will see. Just so you can see how bad it is. I think there was some dirt inside. That's just really bad. Okay, so finally got the tank out. I've cleaned up a bit so it doesn't go to smell. Hopefully this is going to dry out, and yeah, opening garage door, and yeah, you can see a little bit from Norway. It's Monday evening, it's snowing. Disco, chilling. So, a good day in the garage. Didn't get to do all the things that I hoped to do, but we got the fuel tank out, and yeah, I'm so glad that is all done. And I can air out the garage, and hopefully tomorrow it's going to be much better to be in there. Yeah, it came to a point where I'm thinking this is not health beneficial, and yeah, it's not good. But now tomorrow we can start fresh, and hopefully the air in here is going to be much better. It's a new day. Okay, so it's so much better now in the garage. It's the air here is yeah, actually breathable. And earlier today I was out, got the carburetors and put them into a bucket full of warm water, including the fuel pump. And so the goal now is to just get most of the oil and dirt off, and then put it into more warm water with some soap and some lemon acid. So I rearranged it a bit, got my trusty table in the front so it's going to be easier to work, and starting on the process on cleaning the carburetors and the fuel pump. So I don't expect the warm water to do much, but I just wanted to loosen up the worst of the dirt. Can I reach it? You can see all the grime in here. Okay. Okay. This is looking really bad. Someone said, so I asked a bunch of you what I should do, and a bunch of you said ultrasonic cleaner. Probably should get that, but it's just right now it's not in the budget, so yeah. But sitting here doing this is going to take a long time. I'm just gonna try and see how good I can get it with like a half an hour, and then we can see if it's worth it or not, and then we could look at other options. So the fuel pump wasn't too bad, so got that a bit clean. This is the other carburetor that I bought secondhand when I got the car, just to be sure that I had the carburetor working, because we wasn't sure when we picked up the car that all the parts for the carburetor were there. And this one is just really bad. Okay, back for round two. Soap water, was so hard to see if there was enough water because of all the foam. But I think it is. Like so. Hello! See the glass? So I already cleaned it, so it's pretty good. But let's see if we can see what the soap does. Should probably still use gloves, but yeah. You see that? Pretty clean. Nice. So really love these processes when you get something really dirty and then you make it new again. I should have shown you before how dirty this was because it was yellow and you couldn't really see through it. So, but now it's to a point where I can really be proud of this. The foam was annoying. So I think this is the part you should, they say you should replace, this filter here. You can see all the gunk build up here, really bad. Oh. The smell here now is like, if you know the smell of walking into an old garage, that's the smell that's in here now. Okay, so remember this, used it on the ports, on the engine. I think this is a nice way of doing it. You see here, nice. I don't care if there's going to be some scratches, but I do care to get it clean. Okay, let's do this side here and see if we can see that? Really nice. Okay, so it's just rusted, just stuck rusted. Oh, see the green here? Definitely be in water here, I think. It's going to be a long night in the garage, but worth it. Yes, still here. I think 4 hours now, 5 hours of cleaning today, and it's starting to look pretty good. But I need to finish off for tonight. I'm going to empty this bucket. It's really gross, and clean out and put on some new water with soap, and then put all the parts in, and hopefully it's going to be good. The most difficult part is the red stuff here on the inside of the carb. Not really sure what that is, and yeah. But I think if this can stay overnight, at least I should have one clean carburetor, and then maybe later we can start looking at this other carburetor, and yeah. A lot of work doing this manually, but it's fun to see that it's getting there. So definitely worth it. Okay, see you tomorrow.
Stand up against the wall so I can trace you with one fine line. We have become a home that's built of all your poems and mine.
So pretty cold today. And I need to get this tank to the, what's it called? Recycling center. But I'm thinking I should check the fuel sender and keep that if it's in order. If not, I'm gonna throw it away. But I'm thinking of I should keep the screws at least, and also top of the pickup pipe. Yeah, that's not savable. Okay, so fuel sender. Definitely nothing to keep on to, rusted through and yeah, just perished. I think it was worth doing a check because I've been looking at parts and they're quite expensive. Even the fuel pickup pipe is just, I think, like 120 pounds. So it's yeah, 1,700 Norwegian kroners. So yeah, it's just ridiculous for a piece of pipe. Yeah. So I need to look into, see who I can order from, and also see where I can get the best prices. Also be looking at tanks, and that's, yeah, if you want a proper one, it's really, really expensive. So yeah.
I know you wanna go. I don't blame you at all. I'm learning my honesty in reading what you wrote back then. Please don't disappear. It's not what you think it's gonna be like, but nothing ever is in this life. It's a slow dance in paradise. When the world's on fire, look for my eyes.
Okay, welcome back to another part in this video, and previously we have done a coarse cleaning as you saw in the buckets, and now we are taking this carburetor apart, and then we are trying to rebuild it as best as we can. Also later it's gonna hook up the fuel lines here and then do a test of the pump, see if we can get petrol flowing through it, and clean out all the water after the cleanup. Okay, ready to do some work?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have Nicolina here, my happy helper, as you have seen, and she's gonna learn a bit about carburetors while we do this job. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. So removing, you see all the, you can start with these screws.
Yeah.
And I can start with this one. I think it's not that many. Okay. We need some screwdrivers.
Yeah, I was wondering. do you think I can like twist these out? I can't. So like, no, I think that one's.
Yeah. So the good thing here is to find one that fits the most. Yeah. And then see if you can get it out. So you need to hold it, and also you need to.
Which way?
Left. It's gonna be stuck, so you need to hold here properly, and then use force at the same time pushing in as you're rotating.
To the left?
Yeah, to the left. Lefty loosey.
Oh.
Yeah, you need to push more in. And be careful, don't
Ruin it.
your fingers.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Oh my god, it's so hard.
Yeah.
Oh my! I think you need to help me with that one. Be careful.
So,
Thank you.
look at this one.
There we go.
Okej, då. Vi ska ta den här tror jag.
Det här?
Jag tror det likadant jag ska hålla.
Den där är väl lös?
Ja, det ska vara. Den ska skruva på. Okay. Taking off this now. See if you can get it. You need to.
Pull it?
I think it's supposed to just come off.
I'm scared to do it. You need to do it. Oh, now it looks really weird.
That's one part. And I need to get off the gasket. You want to do it?
Yeah.
Just be careful.
Wait.
Yeah, try and get one part. Nice. Not too bad. And if you hold now, you need to hold here with your hand. And if you hold like this, Leia, good. Then center it. Yeah, good. Nice. Nice work.
Thank you.
It's not what you think.
Väldigt skickligt så blir man det. Nej.
Oh.
Oj.
Nothing ever
Här kom det fjärr.
in this life. It's a slow dance in paradise. When the world's on fire, look for my eyes. Look for my eyes.
Nice job. Good work. Yes.
Look for my eyes.
A bit more work than I thought, but it takes a bit of time going through all the individual pieces. But starting with the rough stuff, you can see like this, not looking too good. But after a bit of work, it's not looking too bad. I'm missing the floating valve. You have the float that controls the input of petrol into the carburetor. There's a valve there which is missing, which I need to find. The biggest problem is that the pump won't come out. This small pump here squirts a little bit of extra petrol on the low range, so when you start it will squirt a bit of extra petrol inside the carburetor to help you get going, and I cannot seem to get that out for some reason, so I think it's just rusted solid in there. Yeah, so that's the biggest problem so far. Going to continue cleaning, and then hopefully I can start rebuilding this. It's taking so much time. I don't know if I can get this done by Sunday. It's Saturday today, so getting this video out tomorrow. We will see. If not, there will be another video. And you have already seen that when you watch this, but we will see. Coffee, chocolate, good times. So satisfying seeing the difference. A nice little contrast with the old carburetor and the old carburetor and shiny parts. Nice. Starting to look better. Not good, but better. Cleaning out some of the ports here and the individual, I don't know what's it called, nozzles? Nozzle, yes. And I remember I have a paint gun kit. I think I can, for the small individual nozzles, these will fit. And these are just nylon, so it's going to be safe to use on the, is this brass? I think so. It's not copper, so it must be brass. Yeah. And this seems to work really nice. And there's different sizes on this, so I can go up in size if I need to. So it's not going to be perfect, but the more I work on this and the more I look at it, you notice things that this isn't like Formula 1 grade parts. I think I'm not gonna spend all day doing this, but I'm just gonna take a rough clean, put it back together, and that will be enough for a test startup, I think. I noticed I'm missing one part here, so you can see here that the pipe on top here is missing. That I'm missing, and also the shutting part of the floating valve. Yeah, so this basically sits here, and there should be a smaller version of this sitting here. So when the float closes, it closes the valve. But this valve that's supposed to be in here, I don't have. But lucky for me, there was an old repair kit. The shut-off valve for the float is here. The car was bought in '95, went on a couple of trips, and it was then basically not used for that much. And for the previous owner, Terje's 40th birthday, Erik's dad and other pals got together thinking they should restore it, start restoring it or start fixing it so he can use it again. The new exhaust manifold and all the other parts that are new, they bought. That brings me to this kit, which is 20 years old. And the funny part is, if you saw the video on Jeffrey Coker, Jeffrey, if you see this, it's not a rubber tip on this kit. So this being 20 years old means I think it has better parts. The gaskets and maybe the O-ring here is not that, a gasket should be fine, but the O-ring may be a bit old, but all the other parts seems to be, yeah, proper parts. So that's fun. So I should have everything I need to rebuild this carburetor. It's really fun. I like this carburetor, working on this, and it takes a load of time. You're only seeing small part of it. I'm spending a week on this, basically. If you're planning on doing this yourself, expect to use a lot of time if you're going to be thorough, and if it is in such a bad shape that mine was. The brush kit for a paint gun, not bad. Not stupid. Okay, so I think the two major parts are cleaned out now. This is the center part of the carburetor. I still cannot seem to get the pump out, and I don't think I should try too much. So I'm gonna leave the pump in. Hopefully it will still work. So I think most of the parts are usable still, so I think I should try. It will be fun. I only need the floater pin, and even though they don't look good, I think it should be good enough to start. And some part of me want to get it started with the old parts. So, and then later when we're going to do a proper full rebuild, I can use all new parts. So it's starting to look good. 800 paper, some water, and then 20 to 30 minutes, I think. So I guess we need to get the pump out if we need to get this leveled out, which I think we should. So really close, just a little part left. Change the paper. Yeah, I think that will do for this one. I think this means I can't get the video out tomorrow, so you will see the oil change video tomorrow. Same here, high points are on the bolts, and that's the strongest part, so good to get this down so the gasket can seal up properly. More than good enough for this time. I just have an idea how we can do this. Find the appropriate shim. Find perfect. Not with more water. I would love to finish this up before I need to go in and make dinner. Come on. Happy days. No, paper went. Damn. So close. Only a little bit left there. Also some bad pitting here next to the pump. Come on, you can do it. Just put your back into it. You can do it. Just put your back into it. Yes, final day in the garage. Today I need to finish up the fuel part of this series, and I'm gonna stay in the garage until I have done that. The last time we were in the garage, we cleaned up the carburetor and flattened it down, and it looks really good. So hopefully that's good. So I need to reassemble the carburetor. Also going to look into putting the fuel pump back together. I'm not going to open up and check the internals because I don't have new seals. I'm afraid if I open this up, the seal here is not going to seal up. Yeah, so I will open it up when I get the new seal kit, but for now, closing that up, putting on the fuel lines, and then we can see, can we get fuel running through the fuel pump. So that's the two goals. Reassemble, test the fuel pump. not perfect, but it's much better. So there's missing a shim or a washer on one of the bolts. So I'm gonna steal it from this one. I hope. A bit crusty. Let's see. Just gently put this back on. Not too far. So I've been doing this on every bolt. So there's a lot of things you don't see, but I'm thinking I now need to lower my standards if I are going to get this engine running, or else I will be spending too much time on the details. But carburetor is important, so yeah. Good enough. Just one bolt left and we are done. Gasket, then the old part, where did you go? There we're gonna use this. And we're gonna use this. Screws. Doesn't fit. Yeah, I'm gonna rip the seal, okay? Not using the new seals, use the old seals. Let's see, let's flip them around so they compress in a different way. Spring. Not over tightening these, just leaving them snug, and then if it starts to leak I can always tighten it a bit more. Okay, mistake. This should be that way. Okay. Fixed. Okay, so another problem. The float is very crusty. And it smells horrible at that. So this part, which is whole, doesn't smell anything, but this part here. So maybe it's made this way, but it's starting to dissolve on this side. You could probably yeah. Could probably seal it up with some glue. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up this one, see if that's better, and then we will see. Just going to steal the float. I think this will be another project. A separate single video, I think. Let's see. I think this carburetor looks worse on the outside, and I'm hoping this is it's better on the inside than mine, because mine was open. It's been open for a while, but this I think has just been closed. Let's see. Oh, water from. It's been one time in the back bucket, so it's been. Let's see. It's a different kind of float. It's a more a newer float, and both the pin and the float looks better. Yeah, good. Also have the floating. I can use the. Looks really good, but there's a tip on the end here, so maybe it is worn. Yeah, leaving that in, taking the float. I think I'm gonna put the whole float inside here just to keep it safe. Let's see. Like so. Then we close you back up again, and we will see you again later. New floating pin. So basically the float is just a float. It floats in the petrol, and when the chamber, this chamber gets filled up with petrol, this starts to float, it closes the valve inside here. Like so. Close it up. Then it's just this contraption here that we need to figure out. We got throttle. You can see the linkage here to the pump, the inside pump for the extra squirt of petrol when you give gas. Okay. So that's on. This is for the choke. Okay, so the chicken wing was flipped around, so I thought I was doing it, I didn't understand, but it was flipped over. Okay, flipping this back, then final pin. Also here I think we need to reuse the old thin one. Okay, final part, holder for the choke cable. Does it really matter? No, don't think so. Grinded this down, managed to do it on just on the edge here, so there's still some pitting here, but I think this will be good enough. I grinded down this part. I didn't grind down this part because of the bolts, which I thought were locked in, but they're actually studs. So I got one out. Gonna see if I can get the other one out, and then I can grind some more. Really tired of this grinding stuff. Vice grip, learn the name now. Lefty loosey. Nope. And loose. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's much better than it was. Use some copper spray. Not sure if that's a good idea on this, but I want to get this loose afterwards. It doesn't really matter. Nice. Good job. Then we need some nuts. Some nuts. And I don't really know where the nuts are. So found some old shims or washers, the spring washers, and old nuts. Really dirty. Also found a new method to clean them with this grinding mat on cleaning the threads. Works really well. sometimes. That is it. One complete kind of renewed carburetor. Not looking too great on the inside. Still missing the pipe here. Not really sure if I need that. If you know, put it in a comment down below. You try and move this over, but I'm afraid to break it. So yeah. Definitely gonna order a new one. Okay, carburetor all done, all back together, and the difference here is just huge. Old, new-ish. So not great, but it's, I think from what we came from, this is really good. Next up, I need to start on the fuel pump, but I need to get some lunch first, and then we can finish up this fuel project afterwards. Okay, carburetors done. Fuel pump. Smells good. So we have the fuel pump. Don't have a new filter, so this will probably have to do. See if we can clean it, or we could just leave it because the fuel should be pretty clean. We have the gasket. We have the, what's it called? Sediment. Don't remember. We have the locking mechanism. So the pump is looking pretty good. Just need a little bit more clean, I think, on the inside. There's some residue. Let's see if we can set this up as it should be. Carburetor, this side, pump. Then we have the first pipe which goes from the tank to the pump. Ooh, grimy looking. Like so. Then we have the pipe from the pump to the carburetor. So, and then this pipe goes to the carburetor. Not too much. And this is basically our fuel system except the tank. So for this test, the tank will be our jerry can, the petrol that we got, and then we will see if we can start pumping fuel through the pump and up to the carburetor and fill up the reservoir. Will the fuel system work? We are at that point finally, after days, so many hours in the garage, cleaning, resurfacing, rebuilding, and now we can finally test it. And hopefully the fuel pump will work. But first, let's just marvel at the beauty, which is my new construction of the fuel system. And here you have it. Standing in for the tank, green jerry can, old fuel line to the newly cleaned, nothing new with it, fuel pump, going up to this rebuilt carburetor, and hopefully we will see some fuel in the chamber up there. Not really sure, as I said, if we need fuel in the pump for it to work properly, or if air is enough, but we are about to find out. Okay, hopefully let's get some fuel pump in action. Maybe not. We maybe need fuel in the system. It worked with water. Okay, let's cheat a little bit. Let's think. Can we add pressure inside there and get it to flow through maybe? Yeah. There's fuel. Okay. There's fuel in the system. It's smelling fuel, that's for sure. Now let's see if we can pump it up. I think the valves in the pump is bad, and also the something changed now. Maybe some petrol did the valve some good. Do I have a, yeah. Okay, so there is, my carburetor is leaking fuel from somewhere. Let's put this down, see what happens. Okay, so we get enough pressure to get that going now. And then if we put this back down now. Okay, so after a bit of testing now, it looks like the pump is broken, and we need to buy that rebuild kit before we can do a startup, because, or we could do a startup test if I just put the jerry can on top. So as long as the petrol can, no, the jerry can with the fuel is higher than the pump, then gravity helps it to fill up the pre-sump on the pump. I don't know what it's called, which then the pump will work because it always has fuel to pump. If the jerry can with the fuel is lower than the pump, everything drains back, and that means that the one-way valves inside there are not working as they should. So we need to rebuild the pump. Okay. Also notice a leak on the carburetor, so I need to find out what's leaking on the carburetor. So I thought the carburetor was leaking, and it's probably just overflow from pressure inside the chamber. Either that or the closing valve pin inside of the floating chamber isn't working as it should. Okay, so I guess we're finishing up with some wind today as well. I need your help. Is the overflow here normal if you put the carburetor on the side? I don't have too much experiences, so it would be nice to see where it was coming from, but I'm afraid of getting this into my face. I think it's time to end this video because yeah, I spent over a week now cleaning, resurfacing, rebuilding, now testing the pump and the carburetor. When it comes to carburetor, I think it's overflow. If you know better, please put a comment down below. When it comes to the fuel pump, I think it's the one-way valves that are broken, because when we have petrol inside of the pump, we can get some pumping action, but when we put jerry cans on different levels, it will flow back. So yeah, if you know better about the pump as well, please leave a comment. We will come back to fuel. That will be in a later episode because we need to rebuild the pump. In the meanwhile, we will be looking at the ignition system and see if we can get spark to the spark plugs. Like, subscribe, and if you want to support this build even more, check out Patreon. I'm going to need everything that I can get if we're going to get this running by the summer. As always, see you in the next one. I'll be here working on this.